Rap Circle is finally here. I know everybody been waiting for it, right?
Ooh, it cuts off short on me. I don't know what happened there, but guys, welcome. I'm Pops, and we are live. I have a great guest, comic book artist, creator, man, done storyboards and trading card. I mean, all sorts of stuff. I mean, he's out there doing Indiegogo stuff now. I'm a big fan. I'm just happy that I'm able to work this out. Dan LAWLIS is with me. Thanks, man. Thanks for fitting me in, man.
Hey, gee, thanks for having me here. This is so much fun. I love this stuff. Talking about comics and stuff. I really, that's one of the things I don't know if you've ever heard me say before, but I hated working in comics because it was just lonely. Like I didn't know anybody else to do comics because I was not in the New York area, so I wasn't going into the studios or to the companies, offices or anything. So it was really awful, really, frankly. So this is so much more fun. This is a blast. I could talk to comics. I could talk directly to fans. I mean, I did like conventions. Conventions was the only time you actually met anybody.
Sure.
And could talk comics. And so this new media is just, I mean, I'm really excited about the whole thing, that what's going to happen now with the crowdfunding and everything. Finally, you can
I love it.
Keep your IPs.
Yeah.
I think we're about to see an explosion in the comic book industry, but it's all going to be independents, which is great because there's no more Steve Ditko ripoff. Like the guy who creates Spider-Man gets no money from it. He should have his own island in the Caribbean, right?
Yeah, and I think you're going to see, roughly, 50 to 100 little businesses. They make comic books, and it's like, well, that's where you go. You just got to pick and choose which ones you want. You can dabble, you can try some out, and I couldn't agree more. And I'm be honest, I'm the same way. I've done different, but one of the other YouTubers refers to my resume as almost like alternate media, because this has always been like the side hustle for me, whether it be writing on websites, covering Comic-Cons, doing interviews, doing radio work, all that kind of stuff for years. And it's like, if someone had just told me all you need is a really decent webcam and a USB microphone, you can just do this yourself. You don't have to be a slave to anyone else. You don't have to meet their deadlines. You can call your own shots. I'm like, oh man. So I stripped after the pandemic, was strip it all away, and we're going to do Pops for a minute. I got another channel. It's more like serious interview type stuff. But right now, Pops has just been, I'm having a blast. I don't know about you, but it's just, oh man, I was up at 6 this morning Eastern time to talk to a guy in Japan. We talked comic books for an hour and a half, and it was
isn't it amazing?
Best,
I did a job for a comic guy in Australia, the Barden brothers.
Oh yeah,
it's like, I'll show you that when I show you this, my portfolio of stuff. It's just really a lot of fun. I watched this show called Camel Moon, and it's of course it's over the top. These guys are kooky, and sometimes it's a little what'd you call it, distasteful or something. Raunchy is a good word.
Oh yeah, it gets racy and raunchy. Yeah,
racy and raunchy. Okay, so it's really funny. But the funny thing is, they got a guy in Australia, a guy in America, and a guy in the UK, all doing this show together live. And that's amazing. The technology that you can do now, it's incredible. I don't
changed everything.
Anything
this changed. I wasted so much time and money. Even during the pandemic, we'd gotten like a real camera, and I'm doing editing. But I was spending all my time, like you said, the loneliness, all my time doing editing, and it was never going to be good enough because I didn't have enough money for soundboard to really get over the hump. So I was always just like frustrated with myself, getting discouraged. So it was like this up and down with my graphs. Now doing this has just been so rewarding. And like you said, how else could I connect with you? I'd have to go to a show,
right?
You know what I mean? And then I'd have to figure out a way to pull you away from a commission work or something you were due to pay for your space, keep you away from other fans, maybe.
So you can only talk for a few minutes now. You can. Everybody's got a little free time, and it's just like, and then you can focus too on just what we're talking about, and we're here to talk about comics industry and really in depth, real. Meaningful conversation about this stuff,
I have stacks of this stuff on my desk. I haven't even had time to do them justice. I haven't even done videos. Like literally, I have grams. I talked about grams this morning. Like I have grams right here. I bagged and boarded it.
Yeah,
it's right there. I want to do them justice. I want to make sure I read them well. I want to be able to pass some screenshots. I want to be able to try to turn people on to like what's being produced so they understand the level of quality. But I've got like, I got 5 or 6 of these things. I got so much work piling up. I'm going to have a whole day of just doing comic book, indie comic book stuff to catch up. And now I get you. So I'm going to have to put you on the list because stuff that's going to be coming in that you guys are working on. Yeah. Before we go too much further down the rabbit hole, and let me say hey to the chat, by the way. Christian Fandom Geek's been here. Heidi Mealy's here. Heidi, such a great lady. And her and James have been such a blessing to me in this channel and helped to connect us to make this happen today.
Hey, James is the exclusive seller of my artwork.
That's awesome. That? So, yeah, he's been great stuff.
And Heidi, I've not met Heidi, but I know Heidi's a really wonderful person. So
yeah, it's been awesome. So before we get too much further down the rabbit hole, just to document, give me the elevator pitch resume of Dan Lawlis. You becoming an artist, becoming this avenue, like when how what age and kind of how did it navigate for you to end up in this sort of arena?
I started at Marvel in '87, and my career went from '87 to '97. And then I was looking at I needed money because I had a young family, and I'm getting paid $100 a page. I think that was maybe about $120 at one point, and it took me all day to do the page. So figure that out to maybe $400 a week. That's like $20,000 a year.
Yeah,
I can't raise a family on that. It's not going to happen. So I started looking for alternatives, and I found storyboards. Now storyboards, you can do. I was getting $75 a frame, and I could do 6 or 8 of those a day. Now we're talking. So now I can, and even though that's irregular, I could, and I also wanted to be around my family. I wanted to actually see them. So I always worked at home, but you could be chained into your drawing table. So I just was, as soon as I got that money, that's what I needed. Middle class income. I can raise a family. Perfect. And that's what I did. So for the next 30 years, was it 25 years? I'm not sure. But, storyboards, advertising, all that stuff. Just kind of, it's still not easy. It's not, but it's actually doable. And the interesting thing is another reason. There's a couple of reasons I hated comics. One of them was just the loneliness, as I said. But it was you can't do a great comic book in a month. You just can't. I couldn't, anyways, for sure. Now, for the first time with crowdfunding, you can. So I'm actually really. This is why I'm here. I can actually maybe make a living doing it again, but actually do some of the best work I've ever done in my life, and I'm ready for it because I haven't been sitting around doing nothing for the last 25 years. I've been sketching, drawing, getting better and better. I'm a better artist than I ever was. So I'm really excited for the potential here. Even if I don't do a comic book, I'm just excited for the industry itself to see what happens. I know there's a lot of people poo-pooing this, what's going on with these. Some of these guys, because they may not like their politics or whatever it is, but the reality is it doesn't matter. This is a new revolution, I think, of comic books. It's just going to be no matter what there's going to be all kinds of people from all different kinds of political persuasions and everything producing comics this way, and you're going to see great comics for the first time and maybe ever. Really, people's best work. So I'm excited.
I couldn't agree more. I love all of this. I always loved artist alleys down the independent scales too. You want to go see, J. Scott Campbell or whatever. But hey, listen, I want to go down here and see all these other folks. And I really was able to build some relationships back then. Some folks doing this kind of thing. So, yeah, sequential trailers. James is dropping in here as well, and he says with a monthly grind on comic, you either sacrifice quality or control, or both, to maintain the deadline. Isn't that the truth? So and we're seeing it now. We're seeing it because basically these people are getting paid even half of what you were getting paid, and you can definitely tell. There's whole frames, whole panels. There's nothing in them. Like it's just a silhouette of a character poorly drawn to stuff that's. That's funny. I tweeted at one of them, and I just put a screenshot of Miles Morales in this frame and Miles Morales in this frame, and I said something doesn't look right. What happened? And I kind of expected more like, listen, man, you got to make your deadlines. You got to do whatever. That frame is not a frame. I'm not particularly, the panel's not great. It's fine. It didn't derail the story or anything. That's kind of what I expected. Oh, no. Oh, God help me. No. I was under attack. You wouldn't believe. I don't think that person blocked me. I'm blocked by a handful of them because that's who I'm just like the milquetoast old G fan who just is like, hey, listen, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? I don't want to call people. I'm a person of faith. The last thing I'm going to do is be out there cussing at people or screaming at people and cut. I mean, I cut up and I make fun of people. Some guy was trying to call me a hypocrite because of that. Like, you can't take a joke, man. You can't. It wasn't at the person. It was like at the president or something. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
also the social media itself, like you say things in print that you would never say in person if you're standing right next to the person. But it's so easy just to type it in your keyboard. You don't see the person's facial expression. You don't see that maybe they got a little smirk on their mouth. They're saying that. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So these
Body language.
They come across as very cutting, and people, whoa, I'm offended. So I'm always like, take a step back when I'm ready to write something, just like, how would this really, could this be, portrayed as really nasty? And then also another thing I do is I don't say anything that I wouldn't say that everybody could see, because then something's wrong with it, so.
I agree with that. I would say that I probably would say 90% of what I actually say. However, I will say my demeanor and the body language, like you said, excuse me, gets lost. So I probably come across as being more of a blunt a-hole or something like that than I would ever mean to be, because I would not approach things that way in real life. So I'll be honest, I found your art. I first become Dan Lawless was through trading cards. Let me show people. You've got your art pulled up. You said you're basically Instagram is a great way for folks. We'll make sure we have the right link in the description for you folks to go over and see Dan's work. This was one of the trading cards from 1993 Marvel Masterpiece. This is a print of that piece. Polaris from X-Men. So his trading card work in the 90s is where I kind of got, and I'm not trying to demean the fact I didn't know about his comic book work. It wasn't his name that I wasn't like connected. Like, it wasn't, I just put two together. So I read Strange Tales or I read a Doctor Strange, but say, oh, this is a Dan Lawless piece. Those dots weren't in my head at the moment. That came along much later. But for cards, I was immersed in the cards. I thought freaking Marvel Masterpiece and that era of cards. Your work on Ultra, where you did the X-Men, one character versus another, Wolverine versus whatever.
Yeah,
I love all this.
Let's bring that up because
there's like 3 or 4 you did those versus cards. Yeah, they're gold for me, man. I love those cards. Let me think of what was it. There was Cable and Wolverine and Magneto and Wolverine.
It's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, Hulk and Wolverine. Oh, look at that. That's so reminiscent of Incredible Hulk 181, right? That first appearance kind of stuff. It's good stuff.
That's what it was supposed to capture.
Emulate.
Was that.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a Bernie Wrightson kind of Hulk, So
it's funny because I used to because I had an eBay store. I still have an eBay store. I still sell cards, but not nearly the volume or the attention like I used to. But I used to have this Star Wars Galaxy card, and I would sell all of them, and it was like a Greedo. And what I came to find out is one of the artists, like yourself, would buy all of my cards and then sell them at shows. Like, they would just charge, like, here's a card, I'll sign it, whatever, and just ask for $5 or whatever. They'd make a buck or two, but they probably make a fan because they end up having basically like a wallet-sized collectible that anybody could take.
Yeah.
So I love the cards. So that's how I found you. You talk about the loneliness of Marvel and all of that. What was the difference between working on like a trading card versus working like on a page or something like that, as far as like your direction, your involvement, all this kind of
difference. No difference. I mean, I'm just I'm a freelancer artist. I'm at working at home. So, but this stuff I love. The neat thing about this is the speed of the comic book process. You pencil, someone inks your work. I really kind of hated that because there's no way. First off, there's a different level of artistic quality sometimes, but like when I'm drawing let's say I'm drawing that eye on the Hulk right there, or in one of these guys in pencil, it's kind of a bit of a smudginess. Now when I'm going to finish on it, I'm gonna work at, I'm gonna kind of like, oh, it doesn't look quite right, keep working it, get it right. You know what I'm saying? There's still thinking to be done in the finishing process. If they're not following, as they cannot, read my mind, they're going to do it their way. And so it's not really your artwork. So these were really fun for me because this is my artwork all the way, and I really don't want to have someone ever inking my work if possible, unless let's say here, let's bring this up for a second. Let's see, where was it? I got Strange Tales when I first jobbed. I think it's this way actually.
While you're searching, let me ask you: do you sell? Are you allowed to sell? And do you sell prints of any of those type cards and things like that?
I
from
can't
that
sell
era?
those. Those aren't
Okay,
mine.
I didn't know. Yeah,
but,
I just didn't know. Yeah,
but it must be the other way.
Oh, those are sweet.
Sorry.
You're scrolling. You're scrolling past stuff that I love. I'm like, I'm going to be on I'm going to be on your Instagram tonight. My wife's going to be like, "What are you looking at?" I said, "The guy I talked to today." She's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's that day." She's like, "Oh yeah."
Okay.
My wife's not a nerd. It's fun.
I got this back. I gave him my crappy beginning art drawings. This is one of my first jobs I did. Kevin Nolan inks it, and I get it back, and Carl Potts says, "Oh, we got an inker for you to do this one," and I look at it and go, "Oh my God, what the heck?" It's so good, So he inked one of the issues, and
man, those faces just jump off the page.
Right. I mean, I gave him decent constructions and stuff, but he finished it. And this is a case of an artist making it better. That doesn't happen very often. But if you get an artist who's a full illustrator and they know what they're doing, they'll take it in their direction. I mean, this isn't something I would do, but I even could do. It's just so it's great. It's a great combination. It's best if you have someone who really knows how to finish it. Something I always wanted Tom Palmer to ink my stuff. Like I just thought but Carl Potts said, "Oh, he'll overpower your work." I'm like, yeah, that's the whole point. I want him to finish the dang thing, and
I want to hit it over the fence. I'm just trying to tee it up properly. Let him finish my work.
I want him to fix all my mistakes.
James is actually giving you another compliment. Says Dan has a great sense of color theory, one of the best in the business, bar none. So a lot of love there. And Decepticon's Cave of Villains is here. Hey, brother, great to have you hanging out with us, talking some comic book stuff. And man, I tell you, Dan, it's really refreshing too to just kind of get your perspective on like how the industry has changed so much. Because I don't know about you, and maybe you would have done this had there been social media back in the day, but I'm not really interested in patronizing people that are complaining about their life and their business nearly every freaking day. And you guys that are doing independent work and stuff like that, all I see are streams and interviews with people who are just like giddy again. Like it's the 90s all over again. That's what I hear in your voice. I'm like, oh man, I am literally having a blast again.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and I'm feeding off of you. Like even just talking to you now, I'm ready to go draw. Like it's like this. This whole thing is like, people actually want to see my stuff. Like that's part of it too. You get that feedback, immediate feedback. I put something up online on Twitter, whatever, and then you get all these people liking it, and it's like, okay, the people actually want to see this stuff. So
that was the wrong button. Sorry. Nope.
Well, just go through this real quick, though. I mean, like this is just some of the stuff is just fun. This is not for print. I always wanted to do Conan. I did do. This is the only Savage Sword of Conan cover I ever did, and I wanted to do more. But right when I did this, Marvel was just like they had a couple issues left. They were leaving. They had lost the franchise, whatever. So I was like, oh darn it, So I did do some interiors.
It's Indy again. You could be getting a phone call anytime right now. For anybody who accidentally listens, let the Conan people know Dan is ready to tee it up for a hot Conan cover.
I actually suspect that I've been gatekept from Marvel a little bit because how they got, because it's like if you're just friends with somebody who's conservative, even that in your friends list, they'll even take that and say you're a part of the enemy. Like they're so weird now. It's like I've never seen anything like it. I've always been a freedom of speech person. So it went back, and I think when I was younger, that seemed like the liberals were more on the outs, and I didn't like that. But now the conservatives are more on the outs. I don't like that either. I want people to not be gatekept. I want it to be the best comic books best comic book art you can get. And just keep as much politics out of it. Just keep it a general, whatever the general politics are. But it's tough today because everything's so polarized.
Yeah, I learned about the term Comicsgate adjacent thanks to Dan Slott when he blocked me because I asked it says. He wrote something and I said, well, I guess it depends on what do you mean with the word awful? And I forget what he was trying to say, but basically he was trying to say the awful people, but it was a very broad brush statement. And I was regularly liking and sharing some of his work. I wasn't trying to be anti-Dan Slott or anything like that. And I was blocked. And I want to say it was 2 or 3 weeks later, somebody DM'd me and said, yeah, I heard you mention that Dan got you. and they had a nickname for him being a Blockosaurus or whatever nonsense it is. But it's like you're Comicsgate adjacent because you like all of them, but you're not allowed to like some of them. And I'm like, what is? Yeah. So I thought that was even weirder than like high school cliques. And you're about my age probably. So it's like I don't even remember. People would just ignore you if you were in the wrong cliques. Usually, there was bully elements and then there was ignore elements. But to have someone behave like this is Dan's at least 50. He's at least our age. So I don't know exactly how old Dan is. He's probably older than me. I'm still just sort of like shocked, like because he's one of the older ones that.
Yeah,
I'm this most vanilla, generic guy. I don't curse. I mean, it's like it's so strange that this is how they behave.
Yeah, especially since some of these guys were probably nerds and picked on at some point, possibly, anyways. Too. Why would you do that ever to anybody? I don't know, but
it's very strange. Let's get back to the good stuff. Let's get back to the good stuff. Okay, Conan. Okay, let's move on.
So yeah, here's my one and only Conan cover, and I really love this. I still have the original artwork, and this thing goes off the page a little bit too. I counted. There's actually 70 little individual heads that I illustrated.
That's awesome.
Because it's a big piece. It's
one of those covers that for me, I remember being in the shops like in the 90s, and you'd pick it up and you'd immediately look at the back to see if it wrapped around because it has that feel like there's going to be more heads in the back. Like it just feels like I'm going to flip it. And there's going to be even more heads and maybe something else. I mean, it just reeks of that beautiful sense of movement from the 90s.
Great to extend it, and that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay. Oh, I did this to try to get work. This is a sample, And so, I mean, the Death Dealer comic book is out there. And it's like, I'm like, Sarah, hey, I do a cover for you.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I'm trying to reach out to the family.
So we'll see. Hopefully I could get something.
Hey, if you get a connection, let me know and hook me up because I've been trying to get a hold of them to get somebody on here and talk about some of the new stuff resurfacing because the Death Dealer fans, the Death Dealer fans are just rabid. I got a guy that comes on my regular Tuesday night show and he's like showing off. He actually got his copy. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at what I got. Look at what I'm like. Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. That's a great.
By the way,
sample,
I actually colored. There was line art out there of I forget the guy's name now. Stefano. And I colored his. And it might be in the Instagram here. Actually, maybe I'll just bring it up here real quick if I can. I think it's near the top. So I colored it. I colored his work there, and you can see that if you go out and take a look, anybody wants to can see what they finished it. I didn't realize it's snow background, so I got that wrong, but I use a lot of Frazetta colors and stuff like that, and so I could even
perfect feel for it.
I could even color their book if they wanted me to do that. That'd be a lot of fun. So
let me get to one of the Indiegogos that you've been part of, and I think you're on. Let me make sure I got my facts right here. You're on one of the Gem Shocks, right? You're on doing one of the Gem Shocks.
I just did a card for Gem Shock.
Okay. So just a card. So I I'll put a little link out there for that. I love all that stuff, man. I love the fact that it's just something different. It's got a different feel, different creators, all that. I'm so down.
She's a tough character because she can grow these gems right out of her body, so she's nearly indestructible if she wants to. She's made of diamonds, basically. So it's a cool character. I'm interested in reading it. So
yeah, I
Mandy
can't wait.
Summers is her campaigns are doing better and better each time, and she's. That's the thing is this is a lot of hard work. These people are streaming every day, sometimes, or several times a week at least for hours. I was on a stream the other day, just like I did. It was Comicsgate Kings. We did like 3 hours. Then I did 4 hours after that. Another show with the same group. They just kind of switched it over. 7 hours. So it's a lot of work in a way, but it's a lot of fun work. It's
sure.
Connecting with people. Like I said, you feed off it. You're ready to get drawing once you get cranking on that stuff. Hey, probably the coolest thing though that I have as far as the real entry into the crowdfunding is the Two-Fisted Manly Tales. I think this has about 8 days left or something. Yeah,
we're down to like the last week or so.
Yeah. And it's this is the final thing. It's the cutoff, so you can't get it after this. And it's a little more expensive book, but it's it's like over 100 pages, I think, and hardbound now. It's the whole thing's going to be a hardbound copy. So
if anybody wants to get me that for my birthday in a week or so, I'd be more than happy to. I'll let y'all go ahead and send that to me. The address is in the description. Feel free to send my hard copy.
Graham and I were trying to sell this and say, look, at Father's Day's coming. Man, is this the best Father's Day gift you could possibly get? So if you got your dad a crappy Father's Day gift, go and he wasn't happy about it, go get him this, and they give it to him next year. Something.
I'm trying to convince my kids to kind of pool instead of like getting like I have 5 kids, so I don't want to get 5 mediocre gifts or whatever. If you're going to do something, just pool your money and just do one thing. It doesn't have to be expensive or anything like that. Just do one thing. I just want one thing that I can kind of think of you guys did it. If I had a comic book and it was from the kids or something like that, I'd be like, oh, it's freaking great. I'd never sell it. It'd just be it'd just be under the pillow, man. It'd be in the collection forever. It's like they'd have to fight over who gets it. So, James was chiming in, giving you kudos for the last photo where they're talking about how you know how to draw the sexy babes. I'm like, yeah, he's a 90s creator, man. 90s creators know what they're doing. They got it going on.
Well, before that, I mean, I'm the same. I'm a Facetta guy. They could draw women. I mean, Gil Kane could draw women. They all could draw. John Romita could draw beautiful women. It's like. So, but anyways, the neat thing about that, I thought I mentioned about this is Graham owns this now. Graham can just keep reprinting this year after year after year. Go to conventions and sell it to. He can sell this for the rest of his life now because he owns it. This is what's so great. If you're a comic book creator, forget about the corporate comic book companies because they're going to take your ideas and they're going to potentially make millions or billions, and you get nothing. Now, if you create your own character, may or may not sell, but you can sell that thing for the rest of your life. You can go to conventions, and the more books you do, they pile up. You have a library of books to sell forever. And that is what another great thing about this stuff. So you could, finally, there's a real possibility for a lot more artists to actually support themselves and like never before.
And time changes everything, right? Because look at EVS, it's literally like the Wonder Child story of, I own this thing I did when I was a kid. Sure, I made a little bit of money off of it. Maybe it sold some, but now because I own it, I can parlay this into an actual business model and then kind of expand out from that. And Graham's done the same thing. Obviously, I think I was showing you. I think this was before we started or not.
Yeah, the Alien.
Yeah, I got Alien Alamos on my desk. This is literally like I'm into westerns anyway. So for me, it's like sci-fi gold, like that whole Cowboys versus Alien stuff, where I can have all of my guilty pleasures in one book. I'm like, oh yes, needs to be a series. Yeah. Yes, call Mr. Nolan. I joked all the time. I said, yeah, if I was given magical control of DC tomorrow, these are the first phone calls I'd make. I said, I know you probably don't want to come back here. I got it. But who do I hire? Let's fix this mess. What could I do? What do you want to do, if anything? That kind of stuff. So.
Well, the more I'm exposed to this whole movement, I really feel like the best thing could possibly happen is for Marvel and DC to go away.
License it out. License it out.
License it out. But even so, those people, when they license it out, they don't own those characters that they're working on.
True.
I think that they should make up their own characters. They have a lot more fun. Keep all the rights to it. Pass it on, if anything, to your family. And it's a much better situation.
I wanted profit sharing. What if I could get you to what if I said, all right, well, we're going to license this out for this, a year of Spider-Man, but we're just going to do profit sharing on it. It sells, you make money, and I make money. If it doesn't sell, I give you like a base, but everything over that base is just gravy for us all. That's how I would approach it at this point. Let the market rebound itself, let it recreate itself, and let talent float to the top.
Yeah, so. I don't know if they can. Is
no,
it
it's
something
at the
where
so low.
Is it just, would it be embarrassing? Or I'm not sure if because did you see the Baron the Bob Layton interview on the Baron Earl show?
Oh, I haven't yet. No.
Oh, you got to see it because he talks about it, and he talks about the industry because he goes, I know the numbers. I know they can't be making any money from this. The profit margins are so low. Even back then, and when he was in Valiant and stuff like that, the profit was just so razor thin. Now he goes, they can't possibly make any money. So, but then Mike Baron,
no, they're touting 50 grand, 50,000 copies, like it's some sort of freaking, Grand Slam game winning, number, and I'm like, okay, hold on a minute.
That's
You
what
guys
Barb
do
Wire
realize,
used to do when at Dark Horse. Barb Wire that I worked
yeah,
on.
I'm like, you guys do realize like these numbers were listed as like, so as like the collector / investor part of me, you would have like print numbers, and you start into like these thresholds of when you get to like low print runs, and like low print runs start to be in these. I'm like, wait a minute. So that means everything that's being created qualifies as what is low print run by the old standards. Wow, you guys are not doing well, like at all. Like we are literally like, they have to be losing a DC on everything but Batman.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. A gimmick here and there. It's just there's no way they're making money.
Well, that was I kind of saw this in '97 when I left the industry. I was assessing this, the situation, going, okay, I'm struggling to get a job. I thought to myself, I don't want to be 60 years old, struggling to get $100 a day job, and seeing this shrinking industry, because they remember the comics used to be in those spinner racks. That's probably the biggest, most devastating blow to comics was no more spinner racks. Because you and I, we go into a camp store or something, and they'd be a spinner rack. They'd be in every drugstore had a spinner rack, and I'd sit there and pick out all the coolest ones I could find out, and it was right there. But now, where do you see them? Well, then they went to the comic book shops. Those are few and far between. Those are going out of business, and they're few and far between. So what mom's going to drive their kid to the comic book store? Nobody. So it used to be the kid would be in line at the grocery store, and the mom to shut him up would here, take this comic book, and the kid would devour it. And it was actually a good way to introduce kids to reading, frankly. But
that's how I learned to read. My grandfather taught me to read out of a comic book, because I just, what does this word mean? What does that word mean? I literally am that kid. I'm literally the 4-year-old who learned how to, because my grandmother, I just told a story this morning. My grandmother would take me to this firehouse thrift store. And back then, of course, comics were like quarter, 35 cents, 45 cents, but they'd be like 10 for $1. So I was always allowed to get 10. I was always allowed to get. And then, of course, like you say, go to the grocery store with her. Because my grandmother was the enabler. She's the one that enabled me to get into this and get hooked by it all. And it was like I could get like one. So that's how I was a huge Marvel reader as a little kid, Avengers and Spider-Man, stuff like that. That's what I always wanted. And that's how I learned to read. My grandfather would sit me on his lap, and they'd point to the words, and I'd repeat. And that's so like when I was probably not a very good student in that early kindergarten, first grade stuff, because I was bored. I was already past it all. And back then there was no like, oh, by the way, your kid's doing well. I remember being tested for gifted in like 5th grade or something, and I always went to sleep. I was just bored. I was like, I don't want to do this. And I just went to sleep and got in trouble for falling asleep, going to sleep. And comic books changed everything in my life. Always has. It's always been such an integral part of my life. So I want to touch on, I don't want to leave it, because I think it's something that people need to hear, for folks that maybe you're aspiring, you don't have your comic book ready or whatever, but you're an artist, whatever. Talk about how you even ended up in like storyboard work, because I still find that it's a very fascinating thing that's sort of like not talked about much, is for artists to be able to know they can kind of like, at least there's something you can do to pay the rent and advance your career.
I went to art school, so I knew some artist friends and stuff like that, and I knew a photographer, very high-end professional photographer. And so when I was looking for work, as desperately as I always am, I called him and say, "What do you know about storyboards?" He goes, "Well, I got an art director here right now. He's looking for a storyboard artist. So you come over and meet him." And so I grabbed my stuff together, marched over there. He looked at his stuff. He goes, "Oh, you can do this. This is great." So he was delighted. So I was like, for about 10 years, I was so spoiled, because they do less storyboards now than they used to. But I had one agency that I went to, and for the few art directors, they just kept using me again and again and again. So I had almost steady work for years. My kids were small, so it was great. It was like a great balance of work. So it was as simple as that. It's really, if you're good enough. Like when my first job at Marvel, I went to the Motor City Comic Con here in Michigan, and I met with I've showed my portfolio to Archie Goodwin, and he said right away, he's like, "Oh, this is really, really good. I'm gonna give this to an editor," and I got a call from Carl Potts, and that's as simple and quickly as it happened. Although I did go a year before, I think a year or two before, I took my portfolio to Marvel and DC. I took out a plane ticket, went out there, and sort of just without appointment, I just marched into each of the offices and got someone to look at my portfolio. And of course, they ripped it to shreds. But
The journey.
that's normal. Yeah, that's the normal
The
thing.
journey.
But when you're ready, I'm saying when you're ready and you got it together,
Yeah.
they want you. Of course, now it's different. You got to like, it's things are political crap and all that kind of stuff. Like, what the heck, you know?
James is pointing out that you had inking done by the great late Russ Heath on Shadow Masters, and
Yes.
He's a big fan of that. So yeah, kudos to that. And he also points out the politics matter, which is kind of where you're going with your next sentence, I believe. It's just like, you know, now it's not even about profits and sales; it's only about agenda and stuff like that, which is kind of what we're talking about.
Well, it's
so weird to me.
But you know what?
Weird.
It's as bad as that is. It's great because this is now opening the door. It's like they're
made another market.
Yeah, exactly. They're continually shooting themselves in the foot. So I'm like, keep it coming, guys. Please, more of this stupid stuff. You know, make that like they took Conan once. Marvel just lost Conan. They say that they just gave it up, but I think I'm guessing they were taken from him because there was they had some pretty hot woman on the cover, and I think her name was also Pocahontas, which is a no apparently, right? Anyways, she was pretty, smoking hot, and they covered her up and they gave her blue hair. and
jeez.
The comic book fans just went,
absolutely not. No, we're not doing that.
Conan is not the right place. He's not a politically correct character, So
well, even the timeline of stuff, like there's no blue-haired people running around and when Conan's supposed to be set in its little universe. I think you're right about the Conan too. I think it got lost in the sense of Conan's like, this is what we get paid and this is what we want. Marvel's like, well, we don't even have it. I'm like, well, I guess we're done here. Because Marvel probably thinks, I think their poop doesn't smell is what I think they think. I think they just got their heads up their behinds and they're not used to people saying no to them. And I think this is a bigger deal than they realize because it's like the camel breaking the straw. It's like the camel breaking the straw breaking the camel's back of it's one of the first signs of, people are pushing back. Like, I don't need to be part of this nonsense anymore.
Yeah, I think they're realizing this isn't just some trolls on the internet. People are really not.
They got to make money. Got to pay the rent. Got to do their thing. And fans are sick of it.
Yeah, because nobody wants to be preached to. I don't care if it's coming from the left or the right. You just want this is just fun. You want to watch politics. There's a zillion news programs to give the point of view. This comics should be fun. This is the time to just enjoy yourself. And so it's but they can't help themselves. They just can't. So
let me ask you about that because you did do I found this comic book that you had done. I kind of dove a little deep in it because I don't really remember it, but I'm fascinated about your take on it and your thoughts on it, what worked, what didn't work, and kind of contradicted what we were just talking about because you did this book called Orange Peel.
Yeah.
And it kind of dealt with a lot of Christian messaging and pro-life messaging and things like that. How did you approach that? And if you could do it again, what would you do differently?
I'm not sure if I would do it again because I did the exact same thing that I was out of the industry. This was almost like all right, I'm just gonna do the opposite. Like what happened? Because I'm going and drawing all this stuff and it's just like it's constant bashing. Like let's where was this? If you can share my screen here. Let's see where the I did a U.S. agent. I'm going to draw Captain America, and I did this story. This is a splash page for it from Marvel there, and the story was the villain was your basic right wing Republican, like opening fire on little children, immigrants coming across the border. It's just like, oh, this is just political stuff. You know what I mean? It's just like demonizing the right wing people and. I don't know. It was a downer of a story. It was miserable, and that's a lot of the stories. Like these artists, they feel like these writers got to tell some sort of social conscious type story, and really, people don't really want to read that stuff, So getting back to that Orange Peel thing, I put a lot of Christian and conservative views in there, and I sort of made the same mistake going the other way, And actually, that's another thing too. Is I feel like as a Christian, I'm more open-minded than I used to be. There's a period where I became more fundamentalist, and then I started to see the fundamentalism be too literal, and people looked at me like I was the heretic, And that's like,
sure.
let me show you exactly. I can tell you exactly what I was talking about. what I'm talking about, because here it is. I did this and I thought I wanted to do something kind of interesting and creative with the Bible stories. And I got really bad reactions from Christians because they're like, no, you're taking the Bible and making it, doing it something weird with, you know what I mean? Like if he doesn't have the right sandal of the right period of that time, like I'm a heretic. And I'm just like, so I started to kind of back off on everything, even just personally, and like a little more, I believe in interpretation of the Bible, like a little less like stringent, or strict interpretation.
Yeah, if you remember, there was that Bible miniseries. They made it into a film or whatever, but there was one of them that it portrayed Samson as, basically a black guy, and people freaked out. And I'm like, you guys are out of your minds, by the way. I mean, I don't know what book you're reading, but you guys need some footnotes or something. You guys don't know what you're talking about. You guys need to sit down and be quiet.
Yeah, they didn't.
I don't want to put my pastor hat on, but I'm like, whoa, y'all don't know what you're doing. So
yeah, well, I'm just saying, I that it's like they don't have the spirit of the law; they have the letter of the law, that kind of a thing. So this didn't work because the Christians weren't really interested in it, and then the
secular community's not interested in it either,
because they're not Christians, So. Yeah. And I don't know. I felt like I was just personally getting too judgmental. And there's another thing. I saw Christians judging other people too much, even though it says "judge not, lest ye be judged."
Yep.
You can't help it. You start judging people, So I'm sort of backed off a little bit of that sort of stuff now.
That's interesting. I just want to ask your journey on that too, because I think it's a very fascinating. Because your expertise there, you actually experienced this. Like I kind of poked my finger in the eye of the bear a little bit and kind of pushed back, and it didn't go. I didn't like how it was going, and it's an interesting learning experience. I think that was very valuable. So that's why I wanted to ask you about it. So
yeah. So I mean, I really like this piece. I love this piece. I think this is
I think it's great. It's beautiful.
It's really cool. It's really interesting. So, but it's a small audience apparently, and so it's like it's fine, But I don't know.
Yeah,
I think even just like I'm like a huge fan of Lord of the Rings. You'll probably see it like. In here, there's a whole bunch of
I think I saw someone when we were going by. I'm like, oh yeah, he's definitely got some. Yeah.
Yeah. There's Celeborn. It's or Celeborn. I'm always not sure how they say that. C, but so I love this kind of stuff. It's Christian based. I mean, that whole
absolutely
the Lord of the
Rings, allegories and stuff are so clearly
done. Frodo not being able to do it, but by the grace of God, to finish the quest was perfect. Like that was like Tolkien's master Christian stroke. He was saying you cannot do this of your own, and I really like that. So anyways, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like this is the right way to do it, where you kind of like giving somebody a fantasy, give them something interesting, and then you just sort of put the Christian message or the fundamentals or the moral values that you value into those books.
Right.
Not preachy at all. Just kind of like stuff everybody can agree upon, even people who aren't religious. So
are you a fan of the Orville? You ever watch the Orville?
No.
Oh, I was turned on to it here recently. I really was not. I'm not a fan of Seth MacFarlane and some of the stuff, and kind of got turned on to it. I have to be honest. It's like traditional, like Star Trek TNG, like the good years of like actual social political stuff without being like offensive and mean and cruel or whatever.
It's sci-fi?
Yeah, it's fantastic. I don't know who it's on Hulu for sure. I don't know where else it is. And they do this a lot, but they don't ever get down that rabbit hole like you said, and like they get all warped or twisted or anything like that. He's found the perfect balance of trying to deal with some of these and I got to be the season 1 that came out like in 2017. I'm not even sure they could do that. They would just find it offensive to do it now. So showcase a few more pieces before I don't want to keep you too long here.
Here's another one of the biblical stuff there.
Oh yeah, look at Jonah. That's great. That's awesome.
So let me see what else I got here. I could show. This is also another book that's out besides Two-Fisted Manly Tales. Have you gotten J.C. Vaughn? You should get J.C. Vaughn on your show. He's
get us connected.
What's that?
Get us connected. I'm not familiar.
J.C. Vaughn runs the price guide. I forget what the whole title is. The price guide. He is an encyclopedia of comic knowledge. He's our age, you know, and I was on a stream with him, and it's just, and he wrote the stories in here, and this is a cover for his book, and you can get this on Indiegogo just like Two Fisted Manly Tales. Yeah. So this is a wraparound cover. Anyways, but JC is not only is a wealth of knowledge, he knows so many, being in the industry as he was, he has stories about every creator. He knows all the guys, you know, he's met them all. So you guys would just love to talk to each other. It'd be so much fun.
Oh yeah, I love all this stuff, and I think there's an element of I don't say it this way, but I mean it this way, of like making you guys real. Like for me, it always seemed odd. Like I remember being with people and they just look at you weird because you just like cross the line and start talking with people like they're human beings, because they are. And it was just like so many fans don't look at it that way. So then when they nerd out, they seem even weirder than they already are, because of the way they put people on pedestals and treat people so odd, like they're these celebrity things. And I was just never like that. I was always, I don't know, I'm just different. I don't know. So
he's just a person with a pencil, for goodness sake. Yeah.
I just never had any bad experiences. Again, this is why it's so strange for me with this whole social media thing, because I've met a lot of these people. I interviewed some of them, you know, I'd done a panel one time, or, you know, those kinds of things. And it's like, I never ran into this kind of stuff because people don't want to be with you. It's just the human interaction stuff. You would get cold shoulders and stuff. People wouldn't be rude. They wouldn't, you know, be dismissive the way they are now. So yeah, click on a few more, show a few more things.
This is a page. This is actually the first page from the Two Fisted Manly Tales. So you can see the interior is that the 10 pages that I did in it are the same as the cover. So it's like fully painted stuff. So it's a lot of fun.
And that guitar just jumps off the page at you. I love it.
Yeah. It's a great, and Mike Barron wrote it. So
yeah, I love Mike Barron. I got to get Mike Barron on.
Nuts. Oh, and this is the character I'm working on now. This Kent Menace guy, who's just a blast, because he's, you know, this is getting back to what's just fun. This guy goes through time and space and fights sea monsters, you know, so it's just, you know, it doesn't get any more fun than that, you know?
Yeah, I just saw this when you sent me that, and I thought to myself, I don't know what's going on, and I want to know what's going on. Yeah. That's all I saw when I saw this. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm getting ready to watch, like, when the animation was really good back in the day with like Johnny Bravo and stuff. I feel like I'm getting ready to watch a show. Like this is like a teaser photo for some sort of show. Like it's so layered with different colors and elements. It just raises curiosity.
But, there's a cover for that I did of Kent Menace there. Where is it though? Oh, here it is. There's the cover art.
Oh, I love it.
So yeah, this is a lot of fun. So this is me having a blast. This is me now too with the computer. I mean, I draw it still, but I scan it in and color it. And the quality now, I mean, what you can get, I mean, I can do this for one thing pretty quickly. You know, it doesn't take me about a couple of days to do this thing. So it's just a lot of fun. And you got all these tools now I didn't have before. Comics are about to get really cool. So
I think we're in that. I think we're already in the middle of it. We're just in some of the early phases. Let me run through some, make sure I get all of James. James has got some more comments in here too. Says you should go to the entertainment to escape politics and not get hit over the head. Absolutely. Heidi's saying I only met one creator I had a bad experience with, and in hindsight, I think they were just going through a really tough time in life. That is very, very true. Everyone has bad days, and I've seen that. So yeah.
Yeah. By the way, if the creator's a jerk, if the creator's a jerk to you, he's a jerk. You know, it's like, yeah, I think don't like, oh yeah, you know, really, you know, you hit a bad day. No, you treat everyone with respect. There's no excuses for that. I know I'm saying I just don't like that, you know, but
no, I agree. I think there's a time and a place. Like, you know, you approach someone in a restaurant or something like that, you're kind of intruding in their space, and you may not get the most positive. That's different. But if you're going up to someone at a con, you're a customer, you don't do anything customer. Gosh, I love this, man. Why are you not doing it? We got to get you on.
Yeah, this is what I put in front of Marvel to try to do a cover recently, and they didn't buy it. So it's annoying, you know. It's up. I mean, it's up on my wall here. Hang on a second.
If I had any critique,
you know, it's up on my wall. I got
it. See,
so by the way,
if I had a critique, I'd be like, can we make the axe bigger and the sword thicker? That would be my critique. My critique is so like, you know, nerdy guy. Like I'm just like totally like the nerdy guy. Like, can we make the axe bigger and the sword thicker? Like that's my critique. Not nice. Like everything else is good. I'm like, yep. Can I have bigger weapons and more blood? Maybe. I mean, I'm like, I'm such a cheesy fan. So,
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, this is an example of drawn in and then scanned in and colored, and so you get really good quality with this.
Conan versus the Jaguar Man. Yeah.
By the way, you can actually get there's another thing is you can go to Redbubble and look up my name, and you can get this stuff. Like, I wish I could show you my cell phone right now, but I'm filming from it. But this is my protector. I have a Conan protector of this.
Oh
image.
my gosh, you have got to send me some more links. So I need a link to Instagram, I need a link to Redbubble, and then I need someone to buy me some birthday presents from Redbubble because oh yes, I'm all down with it.
Coasters and
Oh yeah, I'm gonna order like pop stickers. Like I just got a logo because Redbubble was easy to do.
I don't really sell. I forget to sell. I'm on all these shows and I forget to sell my merchandise. I just forget about it because I don't really sell much of anything. So it's like, but as I'm trying to get more popularity, get more of an audience, I realize I gotta kind of sell. I gotta really sell stuff. It's kind of weird because even if you're doing a show every day, there's new people every day. You still got to sell every day, every time you come online.
Yeah, you never know when you're going to find a new person, right? Someone's coming into the fandom every day, and this is a perfect print to sell. Like, is that black signature across the top at a show or something like that? Just makes itself happen. It's just like a no-brainer. It's a beautiful print. Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I sadly, we're getting closer to the end. Want to wrap up here soon, and I'm going to need to have you come back, and we need to spend a lot more time because this is like an endless rabbit hole that we're down. And obviously, you're working and you're loving life, which is the most encouraging thing that I can say. It's just like I got to start my day with Comic Talk. I got to end my day with Comic Talk. My life is great. I'm ready for a long weekend.
Well, my kids are grown now, and it's like I'm talking with my wife, and like, I got 10 years left of this career probably. What am I going to do? I could stay in storyboards and advertising, or maybe I can do comics again for the last 10. And I think I'm going to try to do comics again. So, but it takes a lot of work. It's because people like, don't you knew who I was, but a lot of people don't. Young people have no idea. And they look at my stuff.
Sure.
And go, this is really, you did Spider-Man, you did, you were like, yeah. And they don't even know who I am. So I'm starting almost all over again, which is fine. It's anything worth doing is, it's like, you got to work at it. So.
Yeah, you just never know with the hustle, right? You just never know who's who. That's why, again, another reason why you're saying earlier, like you don't need these creators being rude to people. You're just being nuts. Like they don't know me. They don't know how much money I'm willing to spend on their stuff. So the last thing you want to do is go alienate some customer. And likewise, sure, I know your work, but I hadn't seen that Conan piece before. Just saying. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like, sure, but there's always an avenue of trying to figure out ways to showcase the stuff that you've done, especially like you said, like if you own it and you can sell it, you got to do your thing. You got to pay your bills and have fun doing it, which is what makes it great. And I love what you're doing. Like you said, Graham's got this IP. It's going great. You've been able to hop on that. You've been able to work with some other Indiegogo folks and probably Kickstarter people and that kind of stuff. And
have you interviewed Graham?
No, so look, the Pops thing has been all over the map for years. I work in healthcare. So for those of you who heard the story, I apologize again. But when you work in healthcare in today's day and age, life is miserable and it's chaos and it's whatever. It's all over the map. So I kind of came out. I actually was dabbling and started finding some actual success just doing Pops. Like, all right, let me just focus on Pops for a minute. And I got COVID and I was sick for like 3 weeks. So when I came out of that, I'm like, during the time when you're sitting around, laying around, just trying to feel better, I started researching like live streaming and how to do this differently. Because I was just recording, basically. I wasn't really doing live streaming. And I'm like, no one's going to watch me. That was my, first thing you tell yourself, right? No one's going to be out there. And then you kill yourself. Well, there's only like 4 people. Like, who cares? Who cares? At the end of the day, you're in this for like putting something that's out there forever. So once I got the right mindset, starting March 12th, to now is when I like the foot's been on the gas. Live streaming every week, multiple times a week, meeting people, connecting people, supporting people, reaching out. And it's gone bonkers, like fast. It's faster than I could even keep up with, Dan, to be honest. It's like I have to live. You were like, I can talk to you this week. I'm like, no, I'm booking stuff like into July. People are coming to me now. And it's like, okay, so you hook me up with Graham and Graham's like a rock star for me as a fanboy. He and Chuck, cool. I'm literally like the 90s Batman fan. Like they literally ran Batman they literally ran my life with the titles that they were working on for like most of my life during that era of all the Batman stuff and things like that. Because I really was. I was literally, I got back into this seriously as a collector and a reader because of the Batman movie. And of course, you have, this is the heyday of how big Batman got. So you had Batman Detective, Legend of the Dark Knight, Shadow of the Bat, Robin, Nightwing, Catwoman's. I mean, these guys were all over my life for years. So yeah, to get to talk to Graham would be, and plus he's such a cool guy because
he's a great guy. He was one of the first guys that interviewed me, and we just had a great conversation, just like we're having now.
Awesome.
It's just fun because one thing I think a lot of the comic readers find out is that the comic creators we're fans, we're comic book fans. Yeah, we don't really see ourselves as different. I don't care who creates the comics. Somebody's got to do it,
Let's end with like a funny story. There's got to be all the craziness and things that have happened. A Marvel, DC. You can decide how much naming you want to do or exposing the name or whatever. But something that's like, okay, that's pretty freaking funny. That's pretty.
Well, I got there's one that's kind of it's a little weird, but
hey, I'll take it.
So I was at the Motor City Comic Con, and I was, since I was an artist, that you got access to the lunchroom, whatever, So I go in there and making my sandwich and stuff, and I'm looking for a couple tables out there, and there's this one old guy, and it was like kind of long-haired, gray, hippie kind of looking guy, and I thought, well, he's sitting by himself, I'm gonna give him some company, and so I sit down and I start talking. So I say, well, what do you do? What kind of comics do you do? He's like, well, I do funny animal pornography.
Oh my gosh, he's one of those guys. Oh, that's great.
So anyways, I wish there was a camera on my face when he said that, and
absolutely, I do too.
Okay,
don't have a comeback. Don't have a comeback for that. Didn't see that coming.
Anyways, so I just started to try to eat my sandwich kind of quickly and get out of. But actually, he was a nice enough person. And all that
so
stuff.
It was really Alan Moore who didn't want to talk to anybody that day. Is what you're basically telling me. Alan Moore was in a bad mood. He's like, I do porn for a living, kid. Yeah. Please leave me alone.
The moral of the story is, if you see some lonely, helpless guy at an art, don't assume that they're kind of just
they do
really
what you
need
do.
A friend, because they may need a friend in
a different way. Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny.
I could never understand that aspect of things. Just that
I've never told this story online, but I'll share it. My wife will have to forgive me if she didn't want me to share this story. So, all right. So I'd gone back to school, got the pastor credentials, not preaching at the church, but like part-time preaching. Like I was like the Wednesday night pastor, things like that. But I wasn't on staff. So I used to hold Christian movie nights, like at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, depending on the teens, if they wanted to participate or not, things like that. So I'm in there showing this movie because I'm also, I'm writing for websites and doing all this movie screening stuff. So I have all this stuff way in advance. So I know which ones are good or not. I organize these nights. Sitting there, and I'm showing a trailer for a movie that's getting ready to come out in theaters, trying to encourage the congregation to go out and support this movie. It's low budget, that kind of thing for people of faith or whatever. I kid you not. So the trailer ends. Some hack had gone in and made tags and stuff, so their video would come up next, and it's basically a naked lady. So here I am in church. The trailer plays. I'm looking down to start the movie, and you could just hear the uproar happening across the thing. As this, you've seen how YouTube ends, and it's like the next video will play. That's what's on the screen. Is this naked lady standing there with her boobs hanging out in the church, and I'm like, oh my gosh! So I'm flipping buttons and trying to get off. It was freaking the most humiliating, embarrassing. It's right up there, almost as bad as the porn guy.
Not as
catching
bad.
me off guard.
No. Yours is worse. Yours is far worse.
Oh, no, mine's way worse. But I mean, it's just this level of like, what do I do? How do I get out of here? I don't want to ever go back. I don't want to ever do it again. I don't want to ever. Yeah, it was so crazy. Everybody understood that it wasn't my fault.
Right.
It was just like, what do you do? You're like, it just happened. It's like, okay, well, I will never ever show trailers again. That was my resolution.
They'll live though. A naked lady. I mean, you go to an art museum and there's naked ladies, whatever. It's I don't think it's that big a deal.
But someone purposely
compared to what you can see now on the internet. Like, oh my god.
Oh no, this was way before that was like a prevalent thing. It was more like when YouTube was more like a freaking wide open gunslinging space where all sorts of crazy stuff would happen on YouTube. But yeah, they purposely like put the hashtags in and stuff like that. Well, they weren't hashtags, just the keywords.
Right.
So if you played this movie or whatever, this would pop up. Like they did it on purpose. You could tell by what was in their description and stuff. Yeah, that was my one up your embarrassing story. So I'll go out being more embarrassed than you are. That's how I thought we did it. Yeah. So.
Hey, by the way, I'll just James is in the chat here. I'm going to be on a show next Monday. Do you ever hear of Comic Art Live?
Yeah.
Okay, with Bill Cox. I love that show because they show original artwork all the time, and I'm just a art geek, even though I can't afford to buy it, I love looking at it,
Sure.
But James and I are going to be on that show together, and he's going to help me sell my artwork there.
That's awesome.
So there's a lot of things to
send me that link as well, so I can make sure I get it in the description. And I only tell you that now because the moment when I close the computer, I have to go driving, so I will forget if you don't send it to me.
Yeah, I'll just email you the links for some of the Indiegogo.
Yeah, all the stuff we're talking about. Yeah, your Insta, your Redbubble, that. Yeah, anything you can do. Anything I can do to help you guys, and then I'll try to remember and I try to tweet about it, do that kind of stuff, and kind of get more active and doing some of that stuff too. Yeah, this has been awesome, man. Thanks so much for spending time with us.
It's a lot of fun, man.
Hail to you in chat, all of you folks hanging in there. I know James and Heidi have been there pretty much the whole time, so thank you guys. Love you guys for what you've done, supporting us. We appreciate you, that kind of thing. And you know what? It's only appropriately that we do something fun to go out on. So let me find Bob. You guys know how much I love Bob Ross. Let me find Bob. Here's Bob. Let's have some fun with Bob. Go out tomorrow. Make tomorrow better than today. Be yourself, be true, talk hard, and love life.
I'm Ross. All I do is chill.